autumn of 1945, the world was seemingly awakening from a massive nightmare. But for those who awoke, the landscape left behind was more of a colossal ruin than a victory. War had taken from people not just the land, buildings, and tomorrows. Its truest devastation had been wrought upon the human soul, faith, and words. For the people of that era, simply waking up in the morning was a struggle for survival. The peace declarations pouring from the radios were nothing more than meaningless. Noise to those dying in those muddy trenches. Fear was now a second skin ingrained into human flesh, the unbearable weight of not knowing what tomorrow would bring, of the constant threat that a bomb might fall from the sky or that they might receive grim news about their loved ones, had settled upon everyone's shoulders. People had left behind their homes, towns, and purest dreams to drift into this hell. They carried a single wish in their hearts: if only we could return safe and sound to our lands, to that home whose scent we yearned for. But fate had cut short most of those innocent wishes, leaving behind millions of voiceless silences and broken stories whose very names were forgotten. The guns had fallen silent on paper, yes, but the war inside those people was only now erupting. As that profound silence began, it was right after that apocalypse that senior reporter and investigative writer, Thomas Walker, while listening to the last breath of his fallen comrade dying in his arms at the corner of a muddy trench, felt every word slipping from the man's lips turn into an iron burden pressing down on his shoulders.
Son, my daughter, Grace Holloway, in the forgotten town of Pennsylvania. I couldn't keep my promise. I couldn't return home. You must deliver this letter and his dog tag to her. I beg you.
That final breath scattered like a vapor in the cold air of the trench. The war had ended on paper. The guns were silent. Yet for Thomas Walker, the truest and most arduous journey was beginning at that very second. Months passed. Thomas could not find the woman he had chased from town to town, village to village, across America, anywhere. Exhausted, with 0 pennies in his pocket, but a heavy grief on his shoulders. When he boarded the New York train, he had no idea that life was about to play its greatest trick on him. He had settled into his seat by the window of the carriage, waiting for the train to depart. Grace, meanwhile, paced slowly inside the silent, deserted room, carefully packing her worn leather suitcase. In this house that had for years been filled with her father's breath, his tobacco scent, and reassuring calls, a heavy and unbearable silence now reigned. She slowly approached her father's wooden armchair, standing alone in the middle of the room. With her fingertips, she touched the back of the chair one last time with a deep yearning and tears. She turned to the kitchen table, took the rusted key of the house into her palm, and with a soft, metallic clinking sound, left it on the wooden table. This small key was her final bond to that bitter, lonely life she was leaving behind. As she walked toward the outer door with heavy, trembling steps, her shoulders were completely slumped, her breath unable to fit into her narrow chest. All the childhood memories, shattered dreams. And her father's ghost she left behind were locked away forever behind this door. She pulled the door shut, and the sharp, metallic sound of the lock echoed in her ears. As she walked toward an uncertain, foggy future, she never once looked back at that bitter home. She headed toward the train station by taxi for the very first time in her life. Grace Holloway turned her back on her past and her destiny. She would board the train to open a clean new slate, and she had no idea yet that fate would make her share the very same carriage with the man who had been searching for her from corner to corner for months. An exhausted yet noble lady, having reached the main ticket window of the station with her heavy leather suitcase, was completely out of breath. The frantic crowd filling the platforms only magnified the storm of loneliness inside her. Snatching the ticket handed by the ticket clerk fiercely, she rushed toward the platform just seconds before the train was set to depart. She climbed the iron steps of the carriage at the very last moment, and the heavy iron door slammed shut firmly behind her. At that moment, the door of the carriage about to move opened with a clatter. That melancholic woman, escaping the station crowd at the very last second to catch the train, rushed panting down the corridor of the carriage as the train moved. Jerking and accelerating over the tracks, Sophia tried to find her balance in the corridor, searching for an empty and quiet carriage. When she pushed open the wooden door and dashed inside, her chest was rising and falling rapidly from fear and exhaustion. Wearing her old worn coat and holding the suitcase, the sole memory left by her father, she collapsed into the corner seat. After closing her eyes tightly for a few seconds and taking a deep breath, she pressed her head against the window, and that weary whisper slipped from her lips.
Finally.
Yet she realized she was not alone by a firm, calm voice coming from the seat directly across from her. Sitting opposite her, Thomas could not remain indifferent to the miserable, lonely, and exhausted state of the young woman. He offered a clean fabric cloth and a bottle of water from his pocket over the table.
Trains don't catch those who are in a rush, my lady, but rather those who run away, leaving vast voids behind. If I'm not mistaken, you are one of those who are running.
Running away is sometimes the only choice left to a person, sir, especially when you don't even know where you're headed. But I suppose I'm not the only passenger in this carriage who knows loneliness and being lost.
The two plunged into a deep conversation for hours, defying the raindrops, striking outside, escaping from the pains and uncertainties of life, until the train pulled up to the main platform, stopping amidst steam as the doors opened. Out in that torrential rain, amidst the massive crowd filling the platform, they lost each other in an instant. When Thomas turned back, all that remained was the silhouette left by the woman and her voice echoing in his mind. That night, Thomas sat at his desk in his small room, smelling of typewriters. Despite past midnight, not a drop of sleep entered his eyes. Under the yellow light of the lamp on his desk, he looked at the keys of his typewriter, but his fingers refused to move. His mind was entirely locked onto that melancholic woman sitting in the opposite seat on the train. Every time he closed his eyes, the woman's weary gaze and the fragile tone of her voice echoed in his ears. Who was this woman? He hadn't even asked her name. Why was she running? Until morning, he watched the outside with a cold cup of coffee by the window. He searched for her in the dark streets, thought without stopping. His curiosity was literally eating him alive. That sleepless, long night sowed the first seeds of a passion that would completely alter Thomas's life. We sincerely hope you have wholeheartedly enjoyed this miniseries, where we recreate the captivating and melancholic atmosphere of classical Hollywood. Through the spirits of James Stewart and Marilyn Monroe, on behalf of our Jimmy Stewart Family channel, your support means the world to us. As we strive to grow this story together, make every new scene even more beautiful, and infuse this nostalgic journey with deeper meaning. We kindly invite you to stay tuned to our channel, like our videos, share them with your loved ones, and accompany us with your gracious comments to help us improve and enrich our channel. Filled with excitement from our story, will be with you very soon. Until then, continue to stay with cinema, love, and our channel. Thank you for being wonderful.